Have you ever had buyer's remorse? Well, I'm really suffering from it right now because I spent my money on this 630 pave and trail, and I wish I had waited for the lesser priced and more capable Velotric Discover 2. Let's get into the details and you'll see why this is agony to me. Buyer's remorse is a real thing, and I really regret spending the money I spent on this 630 pave and trail, which is a representative of a generic e-bike, and I wish I had saved the money to go ahead and buy this Velotric Discover 2. Now, they did give this to me for free, but I've got to pay taxes on the retail value, so it's not like I'm really getting it for nothing. And the key thing I want to share with you guys is I built a spreadsheet here of all the differences between this model and this model. And at the end of it, you're going to be amazed at how much more you can get. And Velotric has a $60 discount for military, first responders, students, teachers, and my viewers, and that code will be down in the description below. Nothing of the same exists over here on the 630 side. Now, I did make this spreadsheet, and I've got reds, greens, and yellows to show you the differences between the capabilities of the two models. And I'll put this in a link to this in the description below, so you can have it for your own reference. And if you're going to buy an e-bike, this is a good spreadsheet to allow you to do the comparisons between the two. And if you just want to skip ahead to the bottom line, this is a huge value, and I recommend you follow the link down below and you can look at all the features on the website. But for those who want more detail, well, stick with me because I'm going to go through everything. So, first thing is, where can you get these things? Obviously, you can get them on the internet, but Velotric has over 1,000 local stores across the US where you can go ahead and check it out, do a test ride, and make sure that it's the right fit for you. 630 also has commercial establishments, but they don't make it easy to find it. On the Velotric site, you just click and there you go, you found your site. Over here, it's catch and catch can. So let's go ahead and get into the key thing that everybody is interested in e-bikes, and that is power and range. So here's the first place the Discover 2 has a significant advantage. There are 42 patents underscoring the construction of the Discover 2 and other Velotric bikes, and several of those go for the electrical system, the powertrain, and the motor. You're not getting a generic motor here, you're getting one that was built from the ground up by Velotric, and that means they know everything about it and can help you if you ever run into any problem. It actually has a torque sensor versus the cadence sensor over here on the 630. Now, the key difference between those two is that a torque sensor adds power gradually as you pedal, whereas with a cadence sensor, it's going to just jump in and provide power at the level of assist, whether you want that much or not. So this is a 750 watt motor that'll spike up to 1100 watts power if you need it, versus a 500 watt motor over here on the generic pave and trail. There is no indication on the 630 website what the max output is over here. So you combine that with the torque sensor and you've got the ability to get up some pretty good hills, because this has 75 Newton meters of torque, and that's what you need to grind your way up a hill. The 630 bike doesn't tell us how much torque it has. It's silent on that. So who knows whether that'll get you up a hill or not. The range depends on the battery, and the battery on the Velotric is 14.7 amp hours, and that's a lot of power, and it will produce a range of up to about 70 miles. Over here on the 630, it only has a battery that is 10.4 amps, and that will produce 40 miles of range. So there you go. There's a huge difference right there for the lower price. Both have Shimano gears and derailleurs. This has 8 gears versus this one has 7. And the difference there is critical. because flies all over the place. Because the number of gears you have help you get up hills and help you avoid the situation called ghost pedaling. Now you run into ghost pedaling most frequently with cadence sensors because it just keeps pushing that power in, and eventually your power is going to overcome your ability to pedal against any resistance. Whereas with a torque sensor, you're managing that, and you probably will rarely get into a situation where you do ghost pedaling. In fact, in my test drives, I never ended up having to pedal with no resistance, which is a great feature. The other thing that makes this an advantage is the chainring. It has 46 teeth, and that means that the torque is applied across a wider diameter for less wear, and for every turn of the wheel, you get more distance. Over here, you have 42 teeth on the chain ring, and so that's not going to give you the same advantage. Max speed, 28 miles an hour, but it comes at 20, which is compatible with Class 2 and most federal and state regulations. Over here, it's conflicted on the website. Some places on the website say it's 20 miles an hour, others say it's 28. Up to you. Now, as soon as you talk about speed, you got to talk about brakes. And this is another reason why I love the Discover 2, because it has hydraulic Tektro 180 millimeter disc brakes. That is a huge amount of power, and I find that hydraulic brakes are much easier to maintain and adjust. Over here on the 630, they're normal cable brakes. They don't say who makes them, they're just generic. And the problem with cable brakes I've found is that sometimes grit can get down to the cable sheath, and that makes activating the brakes a little bit harder. You get a grinding noise, and you end up having to clean those out at some point, especially if you want to ride a bike on the beach. Now, the other thing about brakes is you want everybody to know that you're putting your brakes on. And the Velotric has everything integrated into the electrical system. The brakes, the headlight, and turn signals all work off brake pedals and the control panel. Over here on the 630, nothing is integrated with the electrical system. All you have are reflectors on the front and the back. So that brings up some other safety things. We get a headlight, we get a brake light, we get turn signals. Over here on the Discover 2, none of that, not even a headlight over here on the 630. In fact, this doesn't even come with a bell. That's a critical safety feature when you're passing people on various trails. Over here, yes, we have a bell, and I'll show you the layout. The other thing about safety is certifications. The Velotric is certified with ISO 4210, which covers the safety of the bike. And they've stressed everything at 150% of the ISO requirements. I couldn't find anything on the 630 website that talked about any certifications at all. The only advantage in terms of safety that the 630 has is it's got a chain guard and it's got a derailleur guard. Now you can get a derailleur guard and put it on any bike, and I would recommend you do that, but just 2 advantages so far? We're only halfway through my spreadsheet. So that also then leads into reliability. How reliable is this, especially in rain or when you're going to clean it? Now, the Discover 2, the electrical system on the vehicle is rated at IPX6, which means that you could actually take a power washer and clean this off. And the battery itself is IPX7. And in fact, here's a short video where you can enjoy seeing them take the battery, throw it in the washing machine, add detergent, run a cycle, and it still works just fine. That's amazing. Over here on the 630, they don't really say. They say that they use water-resistant components, so maybe that's IPX4? Who knows? going along with, anytime you talk about water, you also need to talk about Underwriter Lab certifications, especially in these days where you see lithium batteries causing fires. Well, rest assured, the Discover 2 is UL certified, 2849 for electrical, and here are all the specs over here, 2580 for the cells of the battery, and 2271 for the overall battery. So you know you're getting a high quality tested battery that's not going to cause you any problems in the future. The Discover 2 comes with Kenda puncture resistant tires that are 2.5 inches wide. Over here on the 630, these are 1.5 inch tires, and they don't tell you who the manufacturer is or whether they have any puncture resistance at all. You know, another thing that bothers me on all the e-bikes that I've reviewed and the few that I've kept, I usually just give them away to my veteran friends, is that there's no way to update the firmware, the software of the system. So if they run into bugs, and all software has bugs, you're kind of stuck with whatever was shipped. Not so with the Discover 2. The app will actually allow you to do firmware updates. And that is a huge feature because the Discover 2 is linked into an app that they provide. And that app allows you to adjust the settings as well as track and manage your ride. Over here, 630 does have an app, but all it does is allow you to track your ride. So huge difference right there. So let's get into comfort. And the first thing about comfort is the bike going to be sized correctly for you? Well, the Discover 2 comes in two different sizes. The regular size will be comfortable for people who are only 4 foot 11 inches tall, and the large size will accommodate someone who's 6 foot 4. Over here on the pavement trail, it's one size fits all, and it's good for 5 foot 3 inches up to 6 foot. Now this is a woman's bike, so that's probably pretty good range for that demographic. The rider weight, you can have 400 pounds of stuff. You know, remember, you got the back rack over there too. You can have 400 pounds here, and you can have 300 pounds over here. The standover height is critical, especially if you're like me, have gray hair, and you're getting older. What the standover height is the height at which you need to lift your foot to get on the bike. And you can see it's pretty easy with what I think is the lowest standover height in the industry of 15 inches. Over here on the 630, the standover height is a lot taller. It's 22 inches, and that may be hard for some people to overcome. The bike weight is important when it comes to transport, and here's where 630 has a small advantage. The 630 weighs 59 pounds, the Discover 2 weighs 63. Not a significant amount, but it might be for different people. Now, going back, bugs are all over the place today. The other thing is comfort for the ride. They both have good seats, can't complain about that. But over here on the Discover 2, you have an adjustable handlebar. This will move in an adjustment range of 60 degrees, so that way you can get your arms in the right position. This is also a cruiser style, and I'll show you that in a minute, which makes it kind of easy to sit upright as opposed to the 630 where it's one size fits all and it's a straight arrangement across. Both have a adjustable front fork suspension, so no real difference there. Now, here's where we get into user experience. This, unbelievably, has 15 different levels of power assist. You've got 5 levels in each of 3 ranges. You have the Eco, the Trail, and the Boost, and you can manage how much power you want within those 15 different ranges. In my test ride, I just stayed in Eco, and I usually like riding between 10 and 15 miles an hour, and actually the Eco mode at level 2 or 3 was plenty for that. Over here on the 630, you get 5 levels. So basically no customization, no fine tuning like you have over on the Discover 2. You just get the power dumped in and you have to deal with it. This has cruise control, believe it or not. So if you get tired and you just want to move, but you don't want to have to deal with keeping your hand on the throttle, you can put this in cruise control and move right along. 630? No. Another advantage that I don't think anybody has thought of is this comes with Apple Find Me. So I can add this to my iPhone and I can know where my bike is. And this is such a pristine, beautiful bike that if it gets stolen, I want to be able to track it down and give the cops a heads up. It also has a USB charging port. Nope, can't find one over here on the 630. All these features are missing. So let's get into taking a closer look at some of these other features over here. Let's start with the app and the display. You can see here that I can go right into bike settings, and these are all the settings that I can change. That's a lot easier than having to go into the menu system over in here. In addition, if I go back, you can see that I can start riding and it will record all the details about my ride, which is a handy thing to have. It shows the percent of charge. It also shows what I'm actually using. So example, if I were in walk assist, there'd be a little icon up here. Right now it's showing that I'm in eco and that the headlight is set to come on automatically. Over here is where all the controls are, and this is where I can go ahead and change the levels of power assist, where I can turn on the turn signals, and you can see it moving right there. That's nice and bright. Underneath is where the USB connection is. Over here on the right, I've got my Shimano shifter for 8 gears, and of course the bell. I love this swept back handlebar because it's just so comfortable to ride. I've got my brake lights set in one of the 3 options you can have. I like the flashers, and then of course there's the turn signals. Let's get going. I'm coming up to a little hill. This is the only hill in my neighborhood. And I can feel the torque sensor starting to add a little bit of power. So unlike normally where you'd have to shift gears, not required here. I'm going to bump it up to 2 so I have a little bit more oomph. No, I'm not going to run it up to 28 like all the insane people do. I just want to have a normal bike ride. And my preferred speed is between 10 and 15. Okay, I'm downhill, I'm going to upshift. I definitely need to add a mirror to this as soon as I can. I like Eco Mode 2. In fact, I've had to go up to gear 7 and I'm going 15 miles an hour, but it's the perfect level of effort that I want for my exercise. And there have been no jerks at all when I've switched from level 1 to level 2. I just love this torque sensor. Boy, these hydraulic brakes are smooth. I just realized that I could use the app and record the ride. I am going to love this bike, although this is actually going to be my wife's bike because she didn't like that 630. Tell you what, let's confirm that the throttle is not key to the level of power assist. Let's see if it'll get me up to 20. There you go, not a problem at all. Hydraulic brakes are really smooth. Well, it looks like the gator's gone. There was a 5-foot gator here last year. I tell you, I just love this bike. So smooth, and that torque sensor just makes a difference. If you're looking for an e-bike, I really recommend you hit the link below. Take advantage of the discount, the great price on this thing. This is the bike.